The Burmese language. Another language here on my series on every language in the world. Subscribe to the channel if you want to follow me in my journey to describe on my channel pretty much every language that is possible to describe on the planet in a systematic manner. Well, the Burmese language is a tough one, okay? It's not an easy language to find grammars and descriptions and dictionaries about. I'd say that I only have a handful of books that have been good or helpful at all to get an idea of what the language is like, and I wish I had more. So actually, I wish I had a more detailed and more accurate source of research on the language. Dictionaries are very hard to come by, even on the internet, and I did what I could. The Burmese language is a language spoken in the modern nation of Burma. I will not use the M word, okay? You know what the modern name of the country is supposed to be. You choose whatever it is. To me, it's Burma, okay? You may call it whatever you want. It's always gonna be Burma to me.
I'm in Burma.
Burma?
You most likely know it as Myanmar, but it'll always be Burma to me.
And the language and the culture is the Burmese language, the Burmese culture, the Burmese people. Spoken by the majority of the population in Burma, about 35 billion people in the country, and another 12 million people, essentially other minorities, other linguistic minorities in Burma, whose primary language is not Burmese, but who use the national language of Burma as a second language, making the Burmese language have something around 45, 50, maybe 55 million people if you include diaspora of Burmese living in the West, living in India, living in China, living in Thailand. There may be more. The Burmese people originally came from the region of the Himalayas, north of Burma, where now is Bhutan, Tibet, and so on, because they are related to the Tibetan and the other Tibetan languages. The Burmese language is actually not a Southeast Asian language in its origin. It is not related to Thai, the language of Thailand. It is not related to Cambodian. It is not related to Vietnamese. It is related, however, to Tibetan and to Dzongkha, which is the language of Bhutan, that small Himalayan kingdom. So the Burmese people came from Tibet downwards in what we call the Middle Ages, around 1,000 years ago. Invaded this western portion of what we call Indochina, the Indochina Peninsula, Southeast Asia, and displaced some other people who were living in the area, mostly like the Mon people, who now mostly live in India and are distant cousins of the Vietnamese, and the Piu people, who are themselves maybe related to the Burmese themselves, but were there before. And the first writing in Burmese dates back to about 900, 800 years ago, already using the Burmese script, an ancient form of the Burmese script, which is one of the most beautiful features of the language. One of the most attractive features of the, even though it is not the language itself, writing is a very external feature of any language, but the writing system used for Burmese by the Burmese people is one of the graphically most exquisite and fascinating writing systems in the world, and it was developed based on some South Asian medieval writing systems, typically adopted by many other Southeast Asian peoples. The Thai script, the Cambodian script, are also adaptations of these Indian writing systems, but each of them is very unique. So the Burmese writing system looks very different from anything that we have in Thailand or in Cambodia. The graphics is very different. And it's also pretty different from Tibetan. The Tibetan writing system is derived from northern Indian languages, northern Indian writing system. Mostly the Devanagari alphabet developed in northern India is the basis for the Tibetan writing system. And much like Tibetan, the Burmese writing system is very etymological. So we no longer it no longer actually represents the phonetics of the language quite well. The phonetics of the language have evolved. The phonetics of the language, the pronunciation of Burmese has evolved substantially, of course, over the course of the last several hundred years. But the Burmese writing system pretty much stuck to writing words in a very old-fashioned way, not unlike English. Maybe not to the same extent as Tibetan. Tibetan is very fossilized in its writing system, but Burmese is also pretty weird. So Burmese write, the spelling that they use actually does not represent the phonetic of the language anymore, the pronunciation of the language that they use anymore. Burmese is actually the dominant member of the Lolo-Burmese branch of the Tibeto-Burmese branch of the Tibetan Chinese or Sino-Tibetan language family. So the Sino-Tibetan language family has two main branches. The Chinese branch, which includes the modern Chinese languages such as Mandarin Chinese, Cantonese, Hakka, and the various other regional languages found in East China, which derived from ancient Chinese, ancient Common Chinese, which existed about 3,000 years ago. And the other branch is the Tibeto-Burmese branch, including Tibetan, several other Himalayan languages, and languages of the Tibetan Plateau, and also the Burmese and Lolo and Pew and Karen languages of Southeast Asia. In the border between Thailand and Burma, there is an ethno-linguistic group called the Karen people. And the Karen people, the Karen language or Karen languages, or the various dialects spoken by those people, they are also related to Burmese. Typologically, Burmese is a very typical Sino-Tibetan language, also a very typical East Asian language. It's a tonal language like Chinese and Tibetan, even though Tibetan is very little tonal. Burmese may have 3 or 4 tones, but the tonal system is very different from Chinese. There is a standard tone, a flat tone, also called level or unmarked, a heavy tone, a creaky tone, indicated by a creaky voice, like a trembling voice, and a stop. That's a glottal stop after. It's not exactly a tone, right? It's more like a phoneme that's added. So the stop may not be a tone. That's why linguists diverge in exactly what the analysis, and the books are not very accurate. Burmese is a language that could require more attention from linguists, perhaps. And the language is pretty much isolating, monosyllabic. There is hardly any verbal conjugation to speak of. There's no morphology, no plural formation. There's no gender, no grammatical gender of any kind. And Burmese does use those classifiers that we find in Chinese, but much less. And their use tends to be optional also. And here we see the phonetic system of Burmese, the consonants. These consonants typically can occur at the beginning of a syllable, not at the end. In the end of a syllable, there's only either vowels or there's like nasals, mostly N and ng, na and na. Much like Chinese, modern Chinese. Cantonese allows for other consonants, just as pa, ta, ka, which are hardly even heard anymore, but they're still there in Cantonese. In Burmese, you don't have any hard consonants in the end, only nasals can end a syllable.
Mr. Peterman.
Jabba! Magalaban Jabba! Anagala Honda!
You speak Burmese?
Oh, Elaine. That was gibberish.
The writing system, however, is completely unrelated to that of Chinese. It's a writing system that is phonetic. There are no ideograms or logograms, so it's much easier. There's only a few dozen symbols. And the consonant symbols in Burmese writing contain an inherent a sound. So the consonant K, the consonant for the letter that sounds like the vowel stop, ka, already has the a in it. So if you just use those 2 little balls that you see there, that's ka. If you add another ball to it, it's a long and falling tone, ka. If you add a ball on top of the ka, you have ki. If you have a little stroke to the bottom of the ka sound, you have ku. And you can also have kat. If you add ka, then there's the t sound with a little hook on the top. The little hook on the top indicates the absence of a vowel. That's the virama sign of India. Indicates the absence of a vowel. So we have a ka with a glottal stop, which is represented graphically by a T. There was a T there in the past. Probably the etymology of the word is that was kat, but in modern Burmese, those final consonants are not possible. So what you hear is ka, ka. The same goes for the other example there, kap. You spell it with a P, but there's no P in pronunciation. It's ka. Here's another few examples of how to form consonant clusters in Burmese. Consonant clusters actually do not exist in Burmese. They are usually found in the writing system reflecting older pronunciation or imported words from the Indian language, mostly from Pali. Pali is the derived form of Sanskrit. That was the language of Buddhism for most of the history of the language. So the Pali language is an Indo-European language that has a number of consonant clusters, and those are present in the Burmese writing system, but they have evolved in the Burmese language mostly like Burmese words in the sense that they've lost their consonant clusters. So the word for karma, which in Pali is kamma, or kamma, in modern Burmese is kan. So the tones aren't always clearly indicated in the writing system, but sometimes you can infer them by certain clues given in the writing system. You have here ka, which is to shake with a low tone. There's a ka, which is bitter, to be bitter. A creaky tone is ka, to wait upon, and a checked or glottal tone, which may not be a tone, which is ka, to beat, to strike. So you see that the writing changes a little, but the tone may be unpredictable from the spelling of Burmese. Here we have the numbers with their pronunciation and their graphic number, the actual symbol used for numbering in Burmese writing, which is very unique, much like you find in India. Each alphabet system has its own numbering system. The Indian systems, the Indian culture, the Indian culture in general is very good with numbers. They invented the zeros, the zero-based notation. So the Burmese ended up inheriting a very unique set of algorithms to represent the numbers. Here are they and the pronunciation. There's zero, thonya, and then there's ti, ni, thon, le, nga, chao, kuini, shi, ko, and tse. Or tese, as vezes, sometimes. Here's the numbers in Chinese, Cantonese, Tibetan, and Burmese. If you want to compare the family, it's a very rare thing to find any comparison between the Sino-Tibetan Burmese languages. Typically, only the Chinese languages are a little bit more known. Tibetan and Burmese are hardly ever mentioned, and because Tibetan and Burmese are very, very different. The Burmese, the Proto-Chinese language, the Proto-Sino-Tibetan languages that gave rise to Chinese and the Tibetan-Burmese languages probably exist around 4,000, maybe 5,000 years ago. It was split quite a long time ago, and the Tibetan-Burmese languages evolved in the Himalayas, in the Tibetan Plateau, around 3,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, and then Burmese split from Tibetan. And by modern times, you can hardly notice any related word between, let's say, Burmese and Chinese. So Burmese is a very distant relative to Mandarin Chinese or even Cantonese, not so distant from Tibetan. You can see here some similarities between Burmese and Tibetan still visible. Like Tibetan, the syntax of Burmese is verb final. There's subject, object, and the verb goes in the end. For the most part, not always. The verb may come also in other position. And the language has postpositions. As Chomsky predicted, SOV languages in general, tend to have a preposition that is put after the word that they refer to. So you don't say in the city, you say the city in. You don't say for him, you say him for. Those prepositions come after their respective words. The pronouns in Burmese, they have different varieties according to formality or informality. And what's something that is one of the few typical features of morphology in Sino-Tibetan languages that I've noticed is that the plural pronouns tend to be formed regularly based on the singular pronouns. That's something that's very rare in the world's languages, right? Typically the plural pronouns are just as different, especially the first and second persons tend to be unique words. I and we. Okay, there's in Russian there's ya and me. In German wir, ich und wir. Even in Arabic there's ana und nahnu for I, and the plural pronouns is not the singular plus a plural marker. But in Chinese, in Tibetan, and in Burmese it is. There is one feature that the language is still, I don't know if that's something that they inherited from the proto-language or if they just independently developed later. But that's something that is present in the language of the family, and it's not present in other East Asian languages. Thai is not like this. Mongolian is not like this. Japanese is not like that. Korean, Vietnamese, Cambodian. Those languages do not have plural pronouns based on the singular. They have a separate set of words to describe the plural persons. So here I have nga, which is I or me, and ngato. Ngato is we, us. There is ne and nito, nindo, which is you. Ne, so nga, ni. Those are very, they still sound like Chinese a little. They resemble the Chinese counterparts. And they're not unlike, here's the same table with the pronouns, but only with the phonetic transcription, without the Burmese writing system and the transliteration that existed in the former one. That's for ease of reference if you want to just take a look at the pronouns without so much clutter. And here's a comparison between the pronouns in Chinese, Cantonese, Tibetan, and Burmese. Okay, so you have some similarity there. Even though I don't think that, for example, ta is a third person pronoun. There is no gender in these languages, so the third person pronoun can be either he or she or something inanimate. I don't think the Chinese ta is related to Burmese thu. I think in this case, I'm pretty sure the ta in Chinese is a very late development of Chinese. You see that Cantonese is different. You have a kui. Kui is he or she. Kong in Tibetan and thu. But the first and second person pronouns are maybe related, and they are inherited from a common ancestor language. You have wo, ngo, nga, nga. Ni, ne, kerang. Tibetan certainly doesn't have the Tibetan is not a cognate here at all. And nin in Burmese. So yes, the first and second person pronoun can be said to still be represented in Burmese just as in Cantonese or Mandarin. The noun phrase in Burmese is mostly DNA, determiner, noun, adjective. So here you have te ye apuchi. This water very hot. This water hot very. The classifiers come after, they appear after the number. Put the noun. That's very different from Chinese. In Chinese you put a determiner or number, the noun in the end, and the classifier comes between both. You say 3 classifier people. Okay, if you don't know what classifier is, take a look at Chinese grammar. It's typically a word that comes automatically between quantity words and nouns. You don't say 3 people, you say 3 individuals of people. 3 a syllable, and no. You don't say 3 books, you say 3 editions or volumes of a book. But in Chinese, typically in Chinese, every word has to have a classifier whenever it's being counted by numbers or even by determiners. In Burmese, you have the same order as in Japanese and Thai, which is weird for somebody who speaks Chinese. It's Lu, thon, yao. You say 3 persons classifier. Just like in Chinese, you would say san, ren, ge instead of san, ge, ren. Repeaters, some of them have repetitive classifiers. Chown, thon, chown, which is school, 3 schools. Ye, tho, lita. In this case, you have a meaningful classifier. In this case, 3 liters of water. The lita is therefore a classifier that in this case is translated. Just like Chinese, some classifiers actually still refer to actual quantities or measures that are semantically relevant, so they have to be translated. And just like here, you have water, 3 liters. That's 3 liters of water. Its vocabulary, just like I said, is mostly monosyllabic, another feature of not only Chinese, Sino-Tibetan languages, but also of many other Asian languages. Not Japanese or Korean, but Thai, Vietnamese are pretty much monosyllabic as well. There's Lu, person, Kui, a dog, Chaun, a cat, Sansaya, which is the Sanskrit or Pali word samsara, okay, a cycle of violence, and Zapwe means a table. That's a composite word. It comes from sa and pue. Another feature of Burmese is that when you compound words, the first word in the compound tends to suffer a sonorization, a voicing of its initial consonant. So you see that sa is to eat, and pue is a feast. But you don't say sapue, you say zapue. The S has to become a Z in compounds. Why the heck that happens? I don't know. There is a non-past, non-future marker of verbs, which is described in the scientific literature as a realis aspect marker, realis mode marker. In the popular grammars, they are referred to as the present past marker or the non-future marker te. She de, she is the verb to be. She de is. Nale de, understands. Thwa de, goes. La de, comes. Sa de, eats. Jai de. Here we have a glottal stop represented by the apostrophe. So the glottal stop turns the de sounds more into a te. The future is made by de, by me. So future, thwa me. Thwa de is I go or I went. Thwa me is I will go, I shall go in the future. That may represent, the may sometimes is said to be an irrealis, a mark of something that is unreal, therefore it's associated with the future, but it's not exactly future, just like the te is not exactly present past. The present and past are seen as something real, concrete. The present is here, the past has already happened, that's reality. So you use a reality marker and then an unreality marker for the future. And for other uses as well, subjunctives, conditionals. So these things are very difficult to ascertain, and I would need to read a little bit more about the grammar in order to determine what this actually is. There's a progressive with ne de, thwa ne te. He is. There's a perfect marker pi, sa pi, thwa pi, has eaten, has gone, this is eaten. Indicates an action in the past that is completed, and it's still valid for the most part. Sa pi pi has finished eating. You can add the syllable pi, which is a verb to finish, to actually emphasize the perfect. Sa pi has eaten. Sa pi pi has finished eating. So that's a very emphatic way to determine that something is done at the moment. At this moment, this is done. This is done and over with. Thwa pi bi, he is gone. He has finished going. He's gone. Just like you can expect from most East Asian languages, adjectives are actually verbs. They're actually stative verbs. Instead of having a word for good, they have a word like kaun, which describe being good. So you use the verbal particles. Kaunte, nga kaunte, I am good. Luete, lue is the verb for to be easy. Luete is the present past. The real is the real. mode for easy. Luete, it is easy. Ingelama shide, it's in England. So see that the preposition, in this case you use Ingelama, the locative first. Shide can also be used for location. It's in England. Bamasaga luede. The Burmese language, Bamasakya luede, is easy. Teosaga thineite. Teosaka is the Chinese language. I am studying the Chinese language. Thineide. Negation can be made by mapu. In the beginning and pu in the end. Nga jai is I like it. Nga mai jaipu, I don't like it. Ngama thwapu, I don't go. Nga thwade is I go, I'm going. Nga thwade. Ngama thwapu is I don't go, I'm not going. Thwa yaupi, he arrived. Thwa ma yaupu, he hasn't arrived. This thu yaupi is he finished arriving, right? Thu ma yaupu, when you negate the verb, you drop the p, the finishing, the part. You only use the mapu and the yau verb, which is to arrive. Jai te la, the question particle is la. Do you like it? Jai te la. Jai is like, te is the present past marker, the reality marker, and la is question marker. Dikwe basadela, basadele. What did this dog eat? Dikwe basadele. When you have a content word, you usually typically lay instead of la. Modal verbs are put after the main verbs, between the verb and the reality marker. Thwa chinde, I wanna go. Thwa nainde, I can go. Thwa yamme, I must go. So in this case, must indicates something that is unreal. Therefore, it doesn't go with the, but it goes with the me, which indicates something that is not reality yet. It's the future. It's something that must be done. That means it's not part of reality yet. That's why this modal verb requires the me unreal particle. Another use of me is darku zweithwame. Narku zeithwame. I am now going to the market. So that's I'm going in the sense that I will go to the market. Now I will go to the market. I'm not going already. At the moment I'm not going there. I'm just going to the market, something that is not real yet. So I will go. I mean that I will go. Maybe I would go, depending on the context. I come from the library. Thu sajidai kalade. So ka is the postposition from. Sajidai library. Thu sajidai ka late. He comes from the library. Thu zeigo thwame. Zeigo is to the market. Zei is market. Go is the preposition to. Zeigo thwame. Thwa and thwade. Thwade, he's going already. He has already gone. Reality. Going is a part of reality. But thwame, the going still isn't a part of reality. So that can be translated that he will go to the market. He may go to the market. Some animate words, just like Chinese, may have an optional way to mark the plural. Okay, most nouns are not marked for plural. Nouns, adjectives, and none of that. But some words, animate words, a handful of words, may be marked for plural, like lu makes lutwe, people. Tapape, okay, bye-bye, which is, that's all in Burmese. I hope you enjoyed this video. You don't find many sources on the Burmese language, and I'm sorry if I made any mistakes. My pronunciation certainly was very bad, but I did what I could. I couldn't find that many sources on Burmese. I tried to summarize the main points so that you can easily have a rough idea on what the language is like. And if you'd like to have me as your teacher, I can teach some of your European languages, just like English itself, or German, or Latin languages in general, and also the classical languages of ancient Greek and ancient Latin. I also teach Russian and Swedish, in addition to German and Dutch and Latin languages. So you can contact me on my email right under the video in the description, and add me to Telegram or WhatsApp or any other video app, contact app for video calls, and I can teach you online, also using my exclusive multi-language thematic intelligent intuitive dictionary that lists thousands of words in parallel in many languages, many European and Asian languages, in the future also African languages, by theme, so parts of the body, names of the fruits, names of professions, everything arranged by themes. I list about 10,000 words per language. In each language I have over 17, maybe there's almost 20 languages now in the dictionary. I spent quite a few years building it. So if you contact me, I'll teach you how to access it and how to profitably, even if you don't enter my mentoring system in languages, you can enjoy the dictionary by yourself. There's a free version whose link is beneath the video also as well. You can just click it, access it, enjoy it. No questions asked. That's a free version. The complete version, however, you have to email me so I can teach you how to access it, okay? So don't forget to comment below, leave your like, of course, subscribe obviously to the channel if you want to enjoy the descriptions of many hundreds of languages that I'll post here. And I'll see you in the next video.